If they did mistreat you purposely, and God cannot bring them to a place of repentance, and you do what you're supposed to do before God, God will deal with them and he will reward you. So, it's simple. Just let it go. Some of you have been dragging stuff around with you that happened 20 years ago. I mean, really? I know I did that. For years and years and years, I was mad at my mom and dad, and I hated my mom and dad. I hated the people who didn't help me, and I was mad at them, and I was just mad at everybody. And I'm so glad that I married a man that had a good attitude. You know why? I had never really been around anybody with a good attitude. I just thought having a bad attitude was a way of life. Maybe you grew up in a negative environment and you haven't heard the good news yet that you can control your attitude. And it doesn't have to be a bad one. Turn to the person next to you and say, you don't have to have a bad attitude. Okay, if you're having a bad day, the first thing that I would like to encourage you to do, are you ready for number one? The first thing I'd like to encourage you to do is have a conversation with God. Now, I purposely didn't say pray, although that's what having a conversation with God is, but I'm not going to use that word right now because I think sometimes we have so overly spiritualized the idea of prayer that sometimes when you hear things a lot, it can just get to the point where it doesn't have much of a meaning to you. Oh, I know you got a problem, pray. Well, I'm saying, let's just say that somebody hurts your feelings. Well, if you just take a minute and have a conversation with God, you can just say, Lord, you know that really hurt my feelings, and so I'm asking you to comfort me and help me, Lord, not to just have a bad day because of one thing that happened. I love you, Lord, and I want to do the things that you want me to do, and I know you don't want me to stay upset. Go on about your business. Now you've turned it over to the only person that can really help you. Now I said have a conversation with God, and conversation means talking and listening. And you know, sadly, man, I was in church for years and years and years before I ever heard that I could hear from God. And there are large groups of even Christians who just, if you talk about hearing from God, I mean, they're ready to just write you off as some kind of a nut. You tell somebody I heard from God, and right away they want to put you on some kind of medicine. They think you're psychotic or something, you know? I do not know how anybody can read the Bible and think that God doesn't talk to his people. I mean, he spoke to Abraham, he spoke to Moses, he spoke to Joseph. I mean, he spoke to Isaac. I mean, all the way down the line. And all of those examples I just pulled out of the old covenant. When we get to the new and we're born again, he's living inside of us. He said, I'll not only be with you, but I'll be in you. And so, wow. Now, when I say have a conversation with God, I'm not going to say that you're going to go around hearing voices all day. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I do want to talk to you for a little bit about a variety of ways that we hear from God. So, because a lot of people think they don't hear from God when they do, because they're looking for something that doesn't really exist.